Hey everyone, I'm Kai, the brand ambassador of Text, and today we're going to be diving into the world of storytelling, marketing, tech as well. And it's quite an interesting combination. So for the occasion, I've invited a very special guest, Paul Gray, the senior partner marketing manager at Webflow. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Kaia. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Do you mind starting off by telling us a bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Gray. I'm focused on partner marketing at Webflow, a platform that helps businesses build, manage, and optimize their websites. I've been working in marketing for over 15 years in lots of different countries and lots of different roles. So really taken a bit of a portfolio approach to my career, but super excited about the future of technology, of marketing, particularly as it relates to storytelling and sort of building engaging experiences. So looking forward to the conversation today.
So 15 years of experience in marketing. And I remember you worked at companies like Disney Experiences, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, Shopify, Patch, Kick in the beginning, right? And you also co-founded Bubblegum Interactive.
Mm-hmm.
And now Webflow. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And is there anything you can share, like the funniest thing you can share from all of your experiences, or like the lesson learned or something like that?
It's funny, like when you reflect back on career, sometimes it's what you've planned and sometimes it's just what sort of happens fortuitously. I always knew I was interested in marketing and, particularly the storytelling side of things. And my definition of marketing really is a function that just brings buyers and sellers together to transact whatever that product is. So I kind of just fell by chance into the Disney role, which was my first role. Literally, this was how long ago it was. There was like a newspaper advert about a marketing manager role, which didn't specify the company. It just said it was, I think, in sort of the creative space. So I thought that sounded interesting and applied, and it turned out it was Disney, and then I was able to get that. So that was a really great experience and sort of reinforced my understanding of how marketing is storytelling, particularly when you think about a brand like Disney. Like their entire product line really is stories. They create franchises. Often it's a movie, and then it gets retold in books, toys, merchandise, park experiences, like whatever it might be. So I was lucky enough to get that role and work on the digital side of things. So virtual worlds, online games, mobile games, and grow that experience, which, that was a lot of learning there.
Okay, that's. I'm sure you'll share a lot more of your experience in today's interview, because I do have a lot of questions about that. Like Paul said, he has over 15 years of experience. Well, you've seen marketing a decade ago, even a bit more than that. So how would you define great marketing in today's world? Like how do you think that looks to you?
I mean, it's changing so much, and it always feels like the pace of change just continues to grow. Even now with the rise of AI agents and how that changes, search experiences. Like if you went back a few years ago, people would have thought there's no way that Google and these major search engines are ever going to face any kind of competition. But now we're seeing already like search traffic is changing significantly as people are getting their answers directly from sort of AI agents. Like, give me the recipe for this, and it just gives you the recipe. Then you don't need to visit the website. Or I'm planning a trip to Southeast Asia with my family. What are some things that I could do? In the past, you'd need to go look at like lots of different websites and sort of figure it out. Now you can ask an agent and it will do that for you and pull together the summaries. So great from a consumer experience. But what does that mean for businesses and business models that are built around people coming to sites and interacting? People always will need that information. But it's almost like we've got work for AI agents and then work for people. But to the question about how marketing has changed, I think the constant is always that you should be delivering the information, the product, the resource that the person wants at the moment that they're looking for that. And ideally, if you can preempt that, even better. So understanding intent, understanding what their problem or requirement is, and then building your marketing around delivering that in the best way at the right time, I think is always going to be constant, no matter how technology continues to change.
Okay, so that's very interesting because, consumers right now, they're super spoiled, right? Let's be honest, especially with AI and automation. I'm so glad you mentioned that in play here. And everything has changed so much in the last 3 years. So it's only natural that they want even more personalization. They want their experiences to be even more seamless than before. So what can a business do to prepare for that? How can they meet those rising customer expectations, do you think, with AI and automation in play here?
Mm-hmm. I think it's always good to go back to that sort of viewing the customer journey and what it is that they want. So whatever your business does, if you're a consulting firm and you provide some kind of like specialized consulting services, then explaining that, making it easy to learn how to find you, what your pricing is, details, and then how they can contact and get started. So that's that journey. One of the Webflow customers we work with is a company called Meow Wolf, which is an awesome name. And it's a kind of like they kind of unite designers, technologists, writers, sculptors, artists, and they create these amazing lifelike immersive experiences that you walk around in. So kind of like a carnival experience for adults, and it's all colorful and magical. So that's great. But like, what is the goal of their website? It's very important. People come to the website to see, where can I go? When is it available? Can I make a booking? How much does it cost? FAQs, that kind of stuff. So gearing the entire website experience around that journey. So I think for any business, it's critical to really understand, what is your customer journey? Like, who are your key customers? What problems are you solving for them? How are they looking to have that need addressed? And then design your website and really all of your digital experiences around serving that. And that can include like how you get involved in social and content marketing, like planting seeds. Now it's the end of the year and sort of getting into the new year. So no doubt there'll be lots of like new year, new you and fitness. And like, so this is a time that people are thinking about that. So if you're any kind of business in that space, this is prime time. So really kind of like, how are you planting these seeds and then bringing people to your website and then converting them from there.
Okay, so a lot about the customer journey and the touch points as well, right? Now, it also revolves, well, let me start off with the fact that Paul is also a science fiction writer, correct?
And aspiring, I guess I'd say. Aspiring writer.
You have a lot of published works already. We'll also leave Paul's website down below if he doesn't mind. Are you okay with that? Sorry,
go for it.
I didn't ask before. But no, definitely take a look. He has a lot of works published, and it's pretty interesting to see everything you've worked on as well. And, storytelling often relies on world building, right? Of course. So how can businesses take that, like create compelling worlds that engage customers in a similar way that could help them with the customer journey, for example?
So I think storytelling is so effective. And the fact is, like, everyone actually knows how to do it. Everyone can name their favorite movie, their favorite book, their favorite whatever, like a story experience they've enjoyed. And when you think about the parallels between storytelling and then business, a lot of them are there. So just like in any story, there's characters, there's allies, mentors, there's conflict, there's a goal or a mission that has to be achieved. Just as in business, there's a problem that you're solving. There is an inciting moment that the customer wants something done, and then it's you and your team and your investors and your partners. How are you going to sort of solve that? So taking that approach really helps. I think it's always important to map it back to a customer journey. So any business should really very well understand who their customer is, what problems they're facing, what needs they have, and how they want to get those resolved. And then you build your website and your digital experiences around that. So how to catch their awareness and interest, and how do you bring them to your website? And once you've got them on the website, how do you engage them? How do you show them this is how we can solve your problem? Proof, case studies, stories, examples that you've already done, and really map that to that full journey from awareness to engagement to converting them to a customer, retaining them as a customer, sharing their story as a future case study. So using storytelling really to try to bring to life those stages, but always making sure that you're explaining like what my business is, how it's going to solve your problem, why you should take action now. Yeah, happy to dig into that more, but I do think there's a lot that you can sort of pick up and copy from movies and storytelling that can work quite well.
Most definitely. I completely agree. And let's be honest, the best brands out there, they have a very, very, very powerful story, right? Even like Nike Jordans, they released a movie 2 years ago about how all of that began. And of course, we know the product sells like crazy, but the story behind it, it's super powerful. And that brings so much to the table. And, a lot of startups right now, with services, with products, et cetera, they I think they're forgetting how important that is to have a strong brand story. I feel like a lot of them, because they feel like they don't have enough time or they don't have the budget, that they're just, for example, pushing their service and then they're pushing the ads. Or even, let's say, someone who's freelancing, right, on Fiverr, they have their website on Webflow, let's say, set up. And what should they do? How should they start? Should they introduce themselves as a person? If they're a designer, let's say, right? Should they, what do you think that it's the first thing they should have on their website that would also bring a bit of storytelling to it?
I mean, I think it's really key to make sure that it's mapping back to the outcomes that the customer wants, as well as what the business will deliver. Like, I'm not a fan of sort of fluffy, airy storytelling that's confusing. Like, I look at lots of websites, and over the years I've seen many websites. I've mentored startups and companies, and sometimes you'll go there and it's just sort of word salad. Like, I don't know, like a company like we create innovative transformational services. Well, you're like, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are these buzzwords? Like, what do you actually do? Like, what do you do? Who is it for? Why is it different? It always has to have these fundamental elements to it. It doesn't mean that it has to be a boring looking thing. Like, it's almost like you take those functional elements and then you layer in ways to tell the stories around that. So if I was a independent artist, photographer, designer, freelance consultant, who am I serving? Be as specific as possible. Many companies I see, especially startups, have too many personas and too many segments they're trying to serve. And that becomes very difficult, especially when you're small. So really honing in, like, who do we actually solve the problem for the best? Why are we the best at it? How do we prove that we're the best at it? And then what do you need to do to get started? So that could almost be like how the website looks. Like, it's explaining who I am, what I do, who I do it for, why it helps them, proof, and then let's get started. And you always want to make sure that you have those actions. So often it's like, fill in my form to book a meeting, or contact my sales team, or make a reservation. Or if you're in the sort of commerce space, it's like, buy this product. So think about those actions that you want, and then how do you tell the story that gets people to do those?
Perfect. So there you have it. There's the recipe. Go and update your site on Webflow. No, but exactly, like, speaking their language. And I asked you about startups, but at the same time, for the big sharks, it's also quite difficult. Like, a lot of companies, when it comes to branding and storytelling, they're very lost. And they don't know how, even if they know their ICP, they don't know how to speak to their customers. And that's a huge issue that I see in a lot of companies nowadays. So going back and just answering even the questions that you just asked, right? So, who I am, what's my story, what do I do, and all of that. Like, start from the roots, right? Start from the beginning. All right. So, you've, like I mentioned in the beginning, you launched Bubblegum Interactive. So you've had a long, long journey yourself. So from launching and co-founding Bubblegum Interactive to working at Kik, I want to ask you, what has been the most surprising or rewarding part of being at the forefront of emerging technology?
I find technology pretty fascinating, and that's what leads into the interest in reading science fiction and writing it. It's I can't remember, I'll mess up the quote, but it's something along the lines of what seems like magic is just kind of where science is moving. So if you look at how powerful conversational AI agents are now, and everyone's loving these. When I was at Kik, we were working on chatbots back then. This was 10 years ago. So there was one project we did, I think, with Viacom or whoever the brand owner is of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. But there was a movie coming out, I don't know, in 2016 or so. And so we worked with some developers to build chatbots where you could essentially have a conversation with each of the Ninja Turtles. So you could talk to Leonardo and Donatello, and they would all speak differently and have different interactions. And depending on what you said, they would say things back. They were very rudimentary chatbots, almost kind of like flows. So it was sort of pretending to be fun. We actually did another one for a horror movie called Insidious, which was tremendously successful, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of conversations happened between people and this chatbot, which was a character from the movie. So it was really great from a marketing point of view because we launched this bot before the movie came out. All the trailers are out there. You could speak to this chatbot. It was very scary. And so you'd have this conversation with sort of this girl from the movie, and then she would say, I can't talk right now, something's in the house. And you're like, what do you mean? And she wouldn't reply. And then hours would pass, and then she would finally reply. And you're like, oh my gosh, she's stressing me out. So it was this sort of fun, magical like experience, but it was just based on like very basic technology. So I think that's been the fun thing. So pushing the edges and trying what's possible. Maybe it's a little bit of fake it until you can make it. Now the chatbots and how these agents work is tremendously powerful, and they're just constantly training and retraining on data. And it does feel magical. I'm sure everyone's had some interactions with ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and all these things. Like it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I feel like the part that is kind of being lacked nowadays, because like you said, when you were working at Kik, you made sure that the experience the chatbot was delivering was completely customized and personalized, right? As soon as a certain person, a visitor, chose to connect with this Ninja Turtle. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
did I say it wrong?
Yeah. Appropriate title. Yeah.
Yeah. So they got a certain type of experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's what I see nowadays is a lot of companies simply using a chatbot on their site to eliminate common questions, which is great, which is perfectly understandable. You know, if a big shark has a ton of visitors a day, they do want to kind of go down the funnel, and then for the customers who actually have more complicated queries, for them to reach the support agents, right? But at this same time, customization, like from your story, even like this experience, like just listening to it gave me so many ideas of how other companies could customize their chatbot to be able to, so that first impression when a visitor reaches your site, so that everything is personalized from the very beginning, and they can also, you know, feel like the company is speaking their language at the same time. So I love that. I love that story. I think I'll have to ask you more about it later on. But so about Bubblegum Interactive, because I remember that you raised millions in funding for your startup, right? So I want to ask you a question, a bit of a different one, actually. So how did marketing play a role in convincing investors of your vision?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess some quick context on Bubblegum. It was a company I founded with some friends, and we had all worked at Disney in the past and enjoyed creating products. It was all around building virtual worlds and online games for children. So sort of family-friendly, family-safe, lots of safety provisions built in with a lot of magical storytelling and a very cool online gaming experience. And so we decided to do that. We just thought, let's just give it a shot. I mean, we were all young enough at the time and sort of bold enough, so we did it, and had some initial sort of seed money ourselves that we put in. But then we wanted to make this work, and you know, you're always in a race, especially in the tech space. So time is of the essence. So we decided to go out and raise funding, and so it was very challenging that first time because the game wasn't built. It wasn't live. It was sort of half finished. We needed more money to hire more developers, more designers, more artists to build things out. So it was sort of telling the story of where we're at now, where we plan to be in a year or two, and then where we plan to be much longer term was really important. And again, back to that storytelling, like who is our audience? It's kids and families. How many of them are there? Millions. And like you size the market and like how big it is and what are they doing now and what are they looking for? And having all of the research that would then back that up. So like doing focus groups, doing interviews, like searching online, finding out how much does the average parent feel comfortable paying for a kid to play an online game? Anything? Or like understanding just like what their propensity is, how big the market is. So there was a lot of that kind of like serious stuff in the deck and like really just the numbers and the math. But then layering in, you know, who is the team? Like, why support this vision? And that was where you could really make it stand out. I've read lots of things about like people that do pitches, and I've seen many pitches. It's when it's the team, it's when it's the mission, it's when it's the why. I think that stands out the most. Often when you speak to startups, they immediately go, and this is what we do, and this is why we do it, and why we're the best. I'm always curious as to the question, like, but why are you doing this? Why are you starting this email analytics company, or like whatever it might be. Like, what is the reason behind this? What is the passion for it? And that's when they start talking about like their background and their experience and why they're the best and what gets them excited and motivated about it. That's the stuff that stands out. And I think that's what investors often look for, is like, who's the team? Why are they doing this? Are they going to stick with this? Everything else can be learned along the way. Like if you're refining positioning or pricing, you've got time to figure that out. But understanding like why are they even doing it in the first place is pretty important.
So now that you've said that, I have to ask, what got you inspired while working at Disney Experiences? Because I mean, I can imagine working at Disney Experiences must have been an experience itself. What got you inspired, and your team, if I can ask, to start it in the first place? Like, did you, I don't know, one day go out to a restaurant and be like, oh, this happened at work today and something, yada, yada, yada? Or like, what was the story behind that?
I mean, I think for me, and I guess my co-founders and friends in that, and then for any founder, it's quite often it's that desire to create and make something, and build something interesting and enjoy it at the same time. So for us, it was sort of seeing, can you align, hey, we're good at this stuff, we're interested in this, and we think there's an opportunity. If you can get those three things aligned, that's pretty powerful. And that's back to my question, like when I speak to the founders of startups, and I'm always curious as to the why, because generally any startup founder is pretty good at they're smart and they're capable and good. So it's like, well, why don't you just get a job and just earn a good salary, and then you don't have to think about half of this stuff. You can just like show up, get things done. And like, because I really want to do this, or I really want to change that. That's interesting. Years ago, I was doing some mentoring with some startups, and one of them was creating sort of digital books and experiences for patients with dementia, and so making it easier for them to read as like cognitive skills decline, having sort of assets and resources to help them, which was an interesting one because like the founder had said, look, the rates of dementia are increasing. Everyone's living a lot longer. It's going to be like millions more people are facing this. So from like a market sizing and an opportunity point of view, that was very clear. But when we dug into the why, it was like her own grandmother had dementia. And so she had seen that decline and the challenges she faced. So that was the mission that motivated that founder. It's like, that's what resonates. And then off you go and build the business and get it going from there. But understanding that the drive or the reason is so important.
Exactly. And that's a story itself, right? That's where your brand story starts. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm just trying to take in everything you've just said, because that's really strong. That's really powerful. And I'm so happy that, you took action and you took the opportunity of really starting Bubblegum Interactive, because, a lot of people think about things for years and years and years and so on. And, they don't really have that power in them to start taking action. And even if they do, perhaps they don't think they're simply there yet. But
one thing I'd also call out with Bubblegum is like we made mistakes and we messed up. So I mean, the company didn't really work out as we had envisioned. To get into the details, like we were building virtual worlds that kids could play in. I don't know if anyone watching ever played Club Penguin, but it was kind of a game like that, but it's like a space version. We thought it was a lot better and had a lot more experiences and functionality. But there were sort of challenges that were coming up. So this was like 2009, 10 was when we were sort of building it and getting it launched. The game was built in Flash. And a very prominent person called Steve Jobs came out sometime around then, literally published an open letter saying Flash is bullshit. It's the worst software. Don't use it. They prohibited it from working on Apple devices. That was kind of the death knell for that product. And so that happened as we had built it. And it's like, well, what do we do now? Do we rebuild it in HTML5 or something else? But then I started looking at other trends and impacts that were becoming a challenge for that business. So in the mid-2000s, people were quite willing to pay $5, $10 a month to have access to an online game. But from around 2008, 9, 10, what came out? Look, Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja and all of these mobile games on mobile devices, which were free. Like you didn't have to pay at all for them. And they provided a lot of gaming functionality. And especially when it came to kids, there was a lot of parents were like, why would I pay $5 to $10 a month for access to this game when this kid can just play 65 million free games that are probably not the best quality and maybe not as safe from advertising and sort of risks, but it's just a trade-off. So a lot of them So that really challenged us. And we pivoted and we said, okay, we want to create gaming experiences. We still want to serve this audience, but things are changing. So we did pivot into building mobile games. And then we sort of lined up all these partnerships with messaging apps and got a lot of traction on those games. And then the company kind of shifted and moved into doing more game development for brands. So we built a game for Nickelodeon about SpongeBob. And so that was a great, yeah. And so off it went from there and into different things. Then I ended up moving on to do other stuff myself.
But those are big names. Club Penguin, I know Club Penguin, and of course Nickelodeon, a huge company itself. But I think the most important part of this is that you never gave up, and that you kept trying, and you kept pivoting, and you kept trying to find a way, even if, like you said, Angry Birds, right, came out. And that was like a complete disruption because it was a free game and it does have those advertisements. And perhaps back then, many years ago, not many parents cared about the ads, whereas now it's a completely different world, right? But at the same time, pivoting, trying, and keeping on going based from your story is the moral that I'm taking out. So thank you so much for sharing that. Like I know I didn't know if we were going to share it, but I was so happy that you did. But I actually remember reading that you were a professor as well for some time. And you're in marketing for the last 15 years, and you founded a startup as well. So you kind of blend everything together, right? Tech, marketing, and arts. So how has this kind of sparked innovation in your approach to how businesses, let's say, attract, convert, and engage customers on the internet?
So again, I think it's always back to that journey, understanding who it is you're serving and why your product is unique or what resonates best about it, and really honing in on that audience. You often hear things about total addressable market, which is important, but you need to also consider what is the serviceable market. There's this many, I don't know, if you're a restaurant software business, how many restaurants are there? Okay, but which types of restaurants? So you're serving individual restaurants or a chain of restaurants is going to be very different. So understanding, okay, we serve restaurants, but specifically we serve restaurants with 2 to 4 locations. So not quite a big chain, but also not just the one-off every individual restaurant. So that takes that total addressable market significantly smaller, which is good. And then you're okay, well, what are they using right now? What are they spending? What problems are they facing? What's the serviceable, obtainable market? And really lightning focusing on that. Anyone that's in a founding role or a product role or a marketing role or a selling role, you need to be speaking to customers all the time. I speak to customers, and partners of Webflow weekly, and really enjoy it and sort of getting on the calls and tell me about your business, what it is that you do, who are your customers, what problems are you solving for them? A lot of it then is what is the website? What functionality are you looking for? How does that work? So for example, live chat and help desk, what are the use cases as to when people want to use those? They want to support lead generation or new opportunities on the site or provide customer support. But yeah, I think it's so critical for the business to really understand customer problem being solved, how we're different, and then build everything around that.
Yeah, so it's looking at the full equation first and then going back to the root cause to kind of fix it. So having the full picture as well. So at the end of the day, everything goes down to knowing your customer, talking to them on a regular basis, understanding actually what they have to say, and listening to that feedback, right? So let's go back to the designer example. Let's say a designer made a certain project, right, or an animation or something like that, and the customer comes back with some certain feedback, right? That you have to fully take it in. You have to know where the customer is coming from. Perhaps they added a remark that wasn't the most pleasant thing in the world, but at the same time, you should understand where are they coming from and why they are saying that and what you can do with that, right? So that's super important. But on the topic of, you mentioned Webflow and live chat and help desk, I actually want to ask you a bit about Webflow. So what unique value does Webflow bring to businesses that are kind of trying to get the most out of their sites, would you say?
Yeah, so Webflow is a platform that helps marketers, designers, and developers kind of work together, collaborate together in a platform. It's visually based, so it's very easy to see and use, but it's essentially creating the code underneath. So you can build, manage, and optimize really sophisticated websites. So that can be everything from literal individuals, like having a portfolio. If they're a photographer, here's my portfolio. Like if I'm a wedding photographer, you can do that. And you can have nice layouts and all the information. Here's the form to book a session. But all the way up to like very sophisticated customers. So one of our customers is a company called Nursa, which was founded in 2020. And it's essentially sort of building a platform where nurses can find freelance or sort of contract work to fill in for healthcare facilities that may be facing a staffing shortage over the holidays or at a particularly busy period or for whatever reason, just like planning. And they have a lot of functionality. Like they have maps and available dates and sort of like real-time information and lots of integrations so that if you're a nurse, you can kind of go to the site and see what's available and create a profile and start getting alerted like, hey, Paul, there's an opportunity to work next week at this hospital for a week. Do you want to do that? And then likewise for the business side of things, like they need to specify, here's my location, here's the types of qualifications I require, here's the shifts available, how does that work? And so they're building these really sophisticated experiences. And Webflow is a platform that lets them do that. So starting with the roots and making it very easy to like visually build and design a website, but then adding in that functionality. And that's why it's exciting for my role, especially working with our ecosystem of partners. There are so many other tools that businesses use. I can't remember the exact number, but something like 50 plus tools is like the average marketer is using in their day-to-day life. It's from project management to CRM to email to social to like whatever. That's a lot of tools. So how do we make sure that we provide access to those tools in a really easy way? And so we built the Webflow app marketplace a couple of years ago. There's over 240 apps there now from text, but also from Microsoft, from HubSpot, from Zapier. So these are the tools that marketing teams are already using to get their jobs done. And we're providing easier ways for them to use that as their working Webflow. So it's this platform, for building your site, but then also managing your site, running it day to day, optimizing it, finding new opportunities to continue to improve things.
No, there's a lot that goes around building a website and then later organizing it and managing at the same time, like you said. So having that marketplace and having those integrations available to your customers like this is a huge benefit, right? There are, of course, other platforms that don't provide all of the integrations, but on Webflow's marketplace, you will find practically everything you will need. And on the topic of integrations, we're actually partners. So Text and Webflow are partners. And I wanted to ask you if off of the top of your head, do you have any use case that kind of talks about Webflow, that combines, Webflow's design capabilities with live chat's customer engagement tools that really led to like an outstanding experience that you remember by a certain customer?
So I spoke to lots of customers about how they're using live chat and help desk and what the function is and the focus for that experience. And one of them was a company called Milers, which is a business based in North Africa and the Middle East, and they do last mile deliveries. So for courier deliveries and products all around that region, they essentially have like a network of freelance contractors that will just drive the packages around. So they work with lots of different commerce partners and products are getting delivered. And in the past, they were using phone and WhatsApp and email and Facebook Messenger and all these different tools, so that me, the person that's ordered, I don't know, like a new microphone, and I'm waiting for it, where is it? Like, when am I going to get it? Like, and so having that kind of update. So they built an integration. So they used the live chat app for Webflow on their website and set it up. So anyone coming there, most of the people that would come to that website were coming either as a business customer wanting to use them, but from the consumers, like, hey, where's my delivery? And so they integrated this tool and had some FAQs and sort of basic information automatically available, but then can connect it with their team. I think it's 6 days a week that they were doing it. And so now they're channeling all of their support questions, which are almost always like, where's my delivery, or can I reschedule the delivery? And then handling that through the app. And they said it saved them hours and hours of time. It's made things much more accurate. They're not missing things. Like someone would write on WhatsApp and then an email gets sent out, like, is the WhatsApp ticket closed? Like, so now it's all this one unified system. Nothing gets missed. The customer satisfaction levels are much higher. And they also shared it's just much better for their customer support team. They're not getting so frantic and confused and sort of chasing things all the time. And when I spoke to them, it was also interesting, like, okay, but what's next? So that's what's happening now. And now they're curious about like how to start using the AI capabilities and everything else that Text will be building to maybe even try handling more of those questions even more quickly, without having to sort of tap into the support team for everything. So that was a great use case around customer support. I also spoke to many other customers using live chat for sort of sales or supporting customers during onboarding, just answering any questions they might have as they're visiting that website.
That's a very interesting example, because I mean, that shows how important integrations are and like how you're supposed to really use it and leverage it to your benefit, right? Because Milo's correct?
Milos, yeah.
Miles.
Mm-hmm.
So they had like WhatsApp, goodness me, Messenger, and everything together, separated. And it's no wonder that they had their communication in a bundle, because I mean, with live chat, literally one integration, put it all in one place. You get all of your channels in one place. So it's really organized. And at the same time, that, like you said, that the thing is that it saved them so much time. And that's the obvious solution. So I feel like for a lot of companies, they should definitely leverage the tools that will help them benefit, that will be a benefit to them, right? That they can take advantage of. And at the end of the day, know like, okay, this takes a huge workload off of me, or I can go to sleep at night without thinking about the million questions that I still have on WhatsApp unanswered, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's what integrations are for. And that's a benefit. So thanks for sharing that use case. Paul, I've literally tortured you long enough today, and you were a great candidate for that. But I'm sorry, I still have one more question I would love to ask you. And with it being the fact that we're in 2025 now, what 3 big trends do you think will impact marketing leaders like yourself with regards to their website or digital strategies or any of that?
I think one trend is going to be more effective collaboration. So how do different team members, from content marketers to product marketers to campaign managers to growth marketers to operations to sales, lots of different people with different functionality, many people working remote or semi-remote, or you've got some colleagues that are remote, really making sure collaboration works well, I think is going to be key. So that's, I think, a trend to see, like, how does that continue to improve? I think sort of optimizing the tech stack is a really key one. So like more and more marketers are using more and more tools all the time. Lots of those tools kind of overlap with each other. So there might be a tool for, like I see a lot of stuff in sales and prospecting and outbounding. So there's a tool that may do sequenced outbound emails, but then there's a tool that could potentially pull in information about intent and blend those together. So do you need those 2 tools, or could you just have one tool? So like really making the most of your tech stack, because the more technologies you add to a stack, that's just more logistics and making sure everything's connected and working properly. So really optimizing the tech stack, I'd say, is a key focus. We just published an ebook called Building a Best-in-Class Revenue Generating Website, and it's all about like using that customer journey as the guiding approach. So look at that journey. What are the tools and functions and goals at each step of that journey, from like awareness to engagement to conversion to retention? Pick and integrate the tools that are most applicable. If there's tools that don't really fit as well, then maybe like take them out. Like can you replace them or just consolidate? And I guess the last trend, of course, Kaia, is going to be AI and what happens there. So, it's really fascinating the developments that have happened lately, where I guess there was like robotic processing. So AIs are sort of training themselves in the background on data and understanding things. But now you're seeing AIs essentially emulate people. I was reading about a tool where essentially the way it works is you just equip the AI with your computer, and it's opening browsers and doing tasks as if it was a person. So going through websites and functionality as a human would, versus like a robot would do it, would just like scan every single page all at once and pull things out. So if robots can start acting more like people, and then that can be really interesting. I think it's going to be fascinating how the role of agents will change, how people interact with services and experiences, what people are going to be wanting. And I think back to that original point, being really clear in the storytelling and really making sure that your story aligns to building a business that's solving customer problems. That will be a constant no matter how technology changes. I
just want to add and maybe go into a little discussion before we go about AI and how it's going to look for agents, like you said. So, of course, yes, leverage it, use it. Like in live chat, we have Copilot, right? For example, it's your AI assistant. It's not a chatbot, it's your AI assistant. It provides you, it basically, you can upload your site or your files or whatever to Copilot, and it takes the knowledge out of that. And later when the customer asks a question, you can use Copilot to kind of suggest a response for you. But of course, what we did here was that, yes, Copilot suggests a response, but you can edit it. So the agent can edit it and personalize it. And at the end of the day, everything goes down to personalization and customization for the customer to have a better experience, right? So review your customer journey, organize your tech deck, and trends in AI, keep a lookout for that. So those are the 3 big ones that the audience should go home with, right?
I think so, yeah.
All right, Paul, thank you so much for letting me pick your brain so freely today. I know I asked a lot of questions about everything, but I hope you're all right with that.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you, Kaia.
And thank you to you so much for watching. Now, if you do have any questions for Paul, his LinkedIn handle will be in the description. Of course, Webflow's site will also be there for you. Paul's site will also be there for you. And the live chat times Webflow integration will be in the description for you as a video. So thank you so much for watching. And Paul, thank you to you again for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Take care and see you soon.